Welcome back, everyone. Again, you're watching Inside. Right now, we're joined by Heather Foster with Foster Financial. Heather, first, I have to start off by saying happy early birthday to you.
Thank you.
I'm celebrating a birthday this week as well.
Yeah, we're both celebrating birthdays this week.
I love that right
happy
there.
Birthday to you, too.
Happy birthday to us. Gemini season.
Yeah.
You got to point that out. All right. Look, let's go ahead and get down to business. We're talking about long-term care today.
Yeah.
Nursing homes, things like that, right?
So it's not the most fun topic to discuss, but it is important to understand kind of how it works and some of the things that you can do to look at preserving your estate.
Yeah.
So traditional long-term care insurance was something that we used to be able to sell, and it was reasonably, it was reasonable. You could buy it, and you would get this nice big umbrella of long-term care coverage.
Yeah.
But in recent years, because of the baby boomer generation and so many people actually utilizing those policies, we've seen not only for new issues, so people trying to get new insurance, the premiums tripled. We've also seen for existing policyholders, and a lot of people probably who are watching this got notifications from their policies saying, hey, we're going to raise your premium. And the raise of the premiums to some of these policies were exorbitant, where you can't afford to pay for the policies anymore.
Yeah.
So people are kind of left with, hey, what do I do now? If we can't get traditional long-term care insurance, again, which was this nice big umbrella of insurance coverage that you would pay as you go, but if you never used it, we call it you lose it, right? If you don't use it, you lose it, because it's a premium. It's just like your car insurance, right? You use it, you don't really want to use it, right? Which means you got into a car accident, but you're still paying for that insurance coverage. So that's kind of something that's kind of like going to the wayside now, traditional long-term care insurance. So we've got to get creative with other ways we can protect someone's estate. And I want you to think of it this way. It's not just preserving and protecting the estate, it's also looking at, will your spouse be okay? So it may not be so much about protecting and preserving for the next generation, but it also is for that spouse. Maybe that spouse, if you lost a Social Security income or they got into your investment assets, you will no longer have enough now to support your significant other. So. Life insurance is an alternative way. We do this a lot, where we actually use life insurance that has a specific rider on the life insurance policy that allows you to get to the death benefit prior to passing away for long-term care purposes. So this is, again, not a use it or lose it scenario. We all know at some point we will pass away. So it will either pay out to be used for long-term care, or it will pay out upon usually the second to die, or if we do it like a joint policy, we're going to pay out when the second person passes away. So again, somebody will get that premium and that money back. It will either take a long-term care occurrence, though, or death. The other way that we utilize policies is something called asset-based long-term care. It's where you can actually leverage an existing asset, and it'll give you an umbrella of coverage as well. It typically carries a death benefit, a return of premium where you can get your money back out of it at some point later down the road, or it can be used for long-term care insurance. And then the other way to mention is, and I'll make this caveat, that legislation risk. We talked about this the other week about how legislation consistently changes, but under current law in Indiana, we can do protection planning, where you work with attorneys and you do things like a promissory note, you loan the money out, or you do an irrevocable trust with an attorney. Again, we are not attorneys here in Foster Financial, but we recommend and work with attorneys that can set up estates to be able to protect them through the legal planning direction. So there are other ways. So if you've been quoted long-term care, or you've wondered, well, how do I get insurance, or maybe you're not even insurable because of health reasons, there are alternative methods that we look down the road for people. A lot of times we'll go in when we design a financial plan, we'll even tell people, like, could you sustain a long-term care occurrence and not run through your assets and your spouse be okay? That's kind of the first step, is what kind of coverage is even needed, or is it even needed? And then the second step is actually what steps can be taken now to start to preserve those estate assets from a long-term care occurrence or the spending of the health care. Because as we all know, one thing that continues to go up higher than normal inflation rates is the cost of health care. I mean, everything just keeps going up, to the tune of $8,000 to $10,000 a month sometimes for these long-term care facilities. People would spend through most of their investment assets pretty quickly if they were having to self-fund that fully. So long-term care is something that we like to look into, and we tell people it needs to be a part of your holistic financial plan. Legal planning and long-term care planning has to be considered, it has to be looked at, and there are multiple alternative ways besides just paying that insurance premium.
Heather, you always bring us some great information, getting ahead of the game, and we recommend people take a look at your screen right now, book that complimentary consultation, and get out there and get those questions answered. Don't just sit there and ask yourself, get out there and get some help. We'll be right back.